Rucha Mahabal. I have been working at Frappe for the past 4 years, uh, working as a product engineer. These are all the products I have worked on so far in Frappe, ERP Next, healthcare, partner relationship management, and currently looking into Frappe HR completely. So while building all these apps and also I have also reviewed a ton of code, partner apps, all of this. I have always felt the need of lacking user experience while building desk apps. So Forest just showed it with Frappe UI, so this is not a competition like desk versus Frappe UI. But what I'm trying to tell you is you can still improve UX to a great point by just doing configurations within the desk and some minimal code. So that's going to be my topic for today. And so why even care for user experience, right? Like we all know how to create doc types. We do that, we get the work done for the customer. Life is good. But just having the tools doesn't mean we can nail it all. Like we haven't maybe not solved the problem for the user. The user might be frustrated while using your apps. Small user experience glitches. So currently the Frappe framework, we all know, gives us UI out of the box. The form view is rendered, we have lists, we have reports, we have dashboards, all of that. But does it also help us to enhance the UX to some extent? So let's see that live. Okay. So very cliche app, library management. I think someone asked that do you still train your new devs on this? So I took this because I want to show that with a very simple app like library management, you can still mess up the user experience, and then we'll go on, rectifying it. So currently I don't even have a workspace for it. I'll maybe just go to some random doc type. Okay, before I go there, I just want to issue a trigger warning. So people who are well versed with good UX patterns might get triggered looking at the bad form designs. But we'll rectify it, I promise. So this is the library transaction form that we have right now. Like the list view, I can see hashes. I can't make out what the transaction is all about. I go to select a book and all I can see is like primary keys here. So many problems with the form, right? So let's just first go and fix this. So we can go to the book master and edit the doc type. You use Command J to jump to a field. So we can set the title field here for the book, which is title. And we can also enable show title in link fields. So what this will essentially do is give me this. So now it's much better. But let's say you don't know the name of the book and you want to search for it using something else. So for that you can use search fields. So we have, I think, author, we have publisher. So all the search fields you can just specify here, and you can see, I can see my author. I can start filtering stuff out in the autocomplete using the author name as well. Okay, so we sorted out book master. Member is something similar, so maybe let's add search fields for that too. So we can have member name in search fields, and we can also set it as title field, so we don't see the primary key in the list view and actually see the name of our members here. So okay, let me just pick something up. Now it's trying to ask me for today's date, like when I'm creating the transaction. So whenever you're creating forms, you should keep in mind that the data that the user has to enter should be minimal friction, and you get the data in. So we can add defaults here, right? Like the user can always go and change it. So we can add the default for this as today, so it picks up today's date. So here now it has picked up, and let's just go through the form and identify more bad design patterns, right? So my type is issued and I try to save something, and there is some field which is mandatory dependent on my type and hidden below a big remarks field. So this is again a bad pattern. So all your dependent fields should be placed together. Proximity matters a lot. So when you're building forms, think about how a user will navigate typing through the form. So let's clean up this form a bit, right? Like remarks is something which you won't use a lot, right, every day. So we can add it in a section below, like just move it. And we can also keep this section collapsible, right? Because that just adds to the cognitive load. Okay, so now here again I can see I'm only using the left column, right? So move fields around a bit to like use the given space correctly. Maybe type can move to right. And another thing here that we can notice is this checkbox. It has all the sins committed here. You have mixed case labels here. Don't send reminder if is capital, due date is exceeded, and my on top of that my checkbox starts with a negation, which is don't, right? And imagine your user is like watching this and thinking, you know, what is going on. So always keep in mind you don't confuse the user. So let's simplify this, right? Try to keep your label sentence case, and also try to have like positive labels. You can keep it enabled by default, right? So you can set the default as 1 because negating it in your brain is like additional work you are giving for the user.
Is it okay to try?
Yeah.
So what about the field level? Field level.
Sorry?
Field level, right? The return date, it's in title case.
Yeah, so sentence and like title case and this is based on context. Now send reminder if the due date is exceeded is more like a sentence, but return date and due date are something like a small label, right? Like you are describing the field in the checkbox, but this is like a generic label. So in that you follow normal title case, and for checkboxes where you tend to write longer sentences, stick to sentence case. So that is something we can follow in forms. Okay, so let's just go back to our form and try doing this once again. So I'm trying to bring an error message up here. Okay, so I want to demonstrate how people write like bad error messages. So this just says like no membership and the title is message. This is so confusing for a user, right? Like what am I supposed to do here? So always make sure that you write your error messages to be more descriptive. They should be concise enough. So let's frame this a bit better, and we can also give them the exact thing they are looking for, like which member. So frappe.bold to like stress up on the important points in the message you are trying to convey, and a message should also point them to like corrective actions, right? So for example, there is no library membership found, but they can go and create it. So that's what you are trying to tell the user. So please create a library membership first, right? So what we can do is give them a link to the form. There is a function in frappe.utils for get link to form where you can actually send them to the form they need to create, right? And then we can just change this to use the message that we just constructed. Also, you should give good titles to your message. So this is a small one, doesn't matter, but think of complex business apps like ERP Next or HR where you have like longer error messages. So the title should convey in minimum words what is the problem, right? So this is a simple example. So now this is much better, right? I know that membership is missing for this member, and I can go and create a library membership first to proceed. So, okay. So this was about the form cleanup, error message cleanup. Now you can see some more like triggering patterns here. Can you spot all the buttons over here? And then there are two primary actions, right? There is send receipt and there is save. So that's a sin because primary actions are to nudge your user towards the next action to be done. And if you have two primary, you are kind of confusing the user as to what to do next. Here it's evident that save, like no one is going to click. But how about we group these buttons together and make it a little bit more readable, right? So these are all my buttons over here. I can remove primary and I can group these under actions because you don't want to stress out the user with multiple options at first. So that's how you create like custom button groups. So if I go back and so now it's much cleaner, right? I can see a lot of actions over here. So yeah.
I've seen the trend of like end user confusing between the three dots and actions. So what would you prefer to do?
So 3 dots is for like generic things which are
developers know that.
Yeah.
For end user, both are the same menu things.
But actions, when you give the label actions, I think it's more intuitive for the user than the 3 dots. I don't see a lot of users using that 3 dot menu ever unless they actually discover, the duplicate and print and email commands over there. So it's always better to nudge them through group button labels like create or actions, all of that. So now we have this. So let's just return this book. Also, whenever you are doing like actions, it's important to confirm the action from the user. Don't just like, they might accidentally click the button, right? You don't know. So always have success messages, have confirm messages for it. So now this is returned, and now I want to charge fine because like this is late. Now it points me to some missing setup in library settings. Now I have a good link to where I have to fix it. So I have to basically set the late fee for this. Now this doesn't tell me the late fee is applicable for what unit, like is it per day, per month, what. So I can also go and edit this doc type. So overdue, fine, maybe. And then you might want to mention in the bracket that this is applicable for whole day. So let me set something. So now my fine is created successfully. So this is how you deal with form actions, grouping them, fixing the namings, give context to what you are doing. Now let's zoom out a bit. This is our list views. List views are really important for people who work, for a look at it for a bird's eye view of what's going on in the system. So here, first of all, the ID here, the hash itself is not very helpful. So I would go and change it, change the title field for this. Maybe I would like to see the member for which this transaction is created, or book, like whatever works. One more thing here is the due date. So whenever I think about a deadline as a user, I think about it in terms of duration. Like I have 3 days to return a book, or I was supposed to return a book 3 days ago. So for that, this is the normal list view, but we can also go ahead and add some more configuration to the list view. So for that, I think we are in the same folder. I can create a file for library transaction list.js. So these are my list view settings. So let me create list view settings for library transaction. And what I can do is I can specify the formatters here for my list columns. So here we are trying to format the due date, right? So what this due date essentially takes up is the value of that cell of the row and the column, the doc field, and the doc. So we might want to reduce the cognitive load to show that 2 days ago and 2 days later by eliminating some things, like if the value is not there, then you don't format this column, because then the deadline doesn't matter. Also, if your transaction type is maybe returned, or it's reissued, so again the deadline doesn't matter there. What matters is only the issued state. So again, this is nailed out. So early returns are very useful if you want to ignore the indentation depth block. So okay, so now let's go to what we are trying to do. So we take the value here and we take the current date value here. Okay, and now we also maybe want to color code it to reduce the cognitive load. So we might say if the date value was before today, then it's actually overdue, right? So might want to show it in red, otherwise green, and we can return the formatter as HTML from here. So I might want to write a span tag. Just bear with me for some time. So important thing when you write certain smaller pieces like this is to adhere to the already used theme, right? So here we have variables inside our theming to automatically manage the contrast for background colors and text colors. So we can use that only with the color variable. Um, and we can set some font weight. And what we want to show here is basically the relative time for our formatter, right? So yeah, so we get this. Now it's helpful. We can see that the book was due 3 days ago and these are like already returned, so why to add the cognitive load to show an extra indicator here, right? So this was about formatting the list. Another important thing is the filters that you see here, right? So we tend to use filters a lot when we are debugging an issue or even a customer is navigating through the system to find some document. So it's always better to configure your default filters. So currently we only have member, so I can search for properties to add them to list filter, maybe type too, because that's something people might be using a lot. So make sure you add good filters to your list view and also don't overdo it. Like we see 3 rows of just filters in the list views, which is also not good. It kind of throws you away from the actual list view that's coming up. So how can we add more detail to our app, right? So we have this book master and I think we have some attachment field over here. So we also have a image view in the framework. You might have seen it in user, customer. So you can actually go and set the image field over here and then my book image shows up there. So this works well in all kinds of masters. And let's say we want more insights inside a form. Like for example, I want to know how popular this book is, right? How many times is it actually issued? So for that we can use list dashboards. Let me just minimize this. So we can use list dashboards for this. So to save time, I have already like written an API to get the timeline data. So basically what this does is gets all the transactions related to that book and it maintains a count timeline wise data for how many times that book was issued, right, to see a heat map. So how do we actually bring this into UI? So we can create a book dashboard. Okay, so there is a function called get data that we need to write and it returns a dictionary. So we want to enable heat map here and we want to give that some message like what is the heat map actually showing, right? So my autocomplete is empty. So library transactions created against a book and there was something else. So the current code base is your best resource to learn about these things. So we also need to pass the field name here. So in this case my field name is book. So in library transaction, what is the link field name for your doc type? And let's just go and add the connection to library, book. So we connect it to library transactions. Okay. We don't have any transactions with this. Yeah. So can you see the heat map over here? It shows so the greater the shade, the more issued book it is on that day. So you can actually see from the heat map, this is very less data, but it helps in things like, showing employee attendance, patient booking, all of that. So heat map is one thing. You could use the dashboard really well to show graphs and analytics. So this was about, we saw connections. So this was about individual doc types, but you also need to connect your forms together to sort of nudge the user towards a journey, right? Like what should they do next? So we see that in library transaction. There is, okay, I had not refreshed this. There are actions here. So similarly, you can add more actions to maybe a library member as well. So I'll just show you a quick example on how to do that. So we can add custom buttons here to, let's say, create a transaction or a membership for the member, and always make sure that all your labels are translated. And what we can do is, here we don't really have any information to write an API to call, so we can just create a new doc from here for library membership, and we can map the current member there, right? So similarly for transaction, and this is a create action, so we might want to like group it under the create button. So you can see create membership transaction, and my member gets fetched here. So this kind of creates a flow, but this was a simple example. But when you write like the kind of actions we did in transaction, which is reissue, like return, charge fee or fine, make sure you write like APIs for it, because this we do from our UI, but it has to be API friendly for someone to call it from outside, right? So make sure your business logic is on the server side and you are just calling it from here. Yeah, so this was about the creation thing. Now the most important thing is, how do I find all these doc types? As a user, I won't go to the doc type list, right? So I can just create a workspace here and add. So we have three kinds of things here. One is like masters. So we have library member and a book. Then we have transactions. So membership. Then there is transaction, and there is fine. And a settings doc type, I think. We can add more to this as and when we like get enough links. So to like make it more interesting, maybe we can add a chart here. So you have all kinds of options. You have quick lists to maybe show books due this week, but I won't add it here because it kind of breaks the symmetry of the page. So there is chart. So for example, books issued, which is just a timeline of like number of books getting issued in the library. So this is a simple workspace. You also have the option to create sub workspaces and actually like differentiate between spaces for the user to, so make sure your workspaces are not too big and user has to scroll a lot to get to the place they want to. You can also add shortcuts for these things. One more small thing that was recently added is, so we are doing this project to increase retention in ERP Next signups, where we realize that people land on the workspace but they don't really know what a doc type does. Like for example, dunning. I don't know what dunning is. So for that, we added a description field inside the doc type. I'll show you how it works. So maybe I'll just show it for one. Library settings. So there is this description meta field inside this. I just set my doc type description whenever I create a new one. And when I go to library settings, I get a popover. So as a user, I don't have to go to all the way to my documentation to actually find out what this does, right? And this is also applicable for list views. So empty list views will show the description. Titles will show this description. So this was all about it. I'm almost towards the end. So if the form view is limiting you, you can also go ahead and write custom UIs like we have written in HR. Simply add a HTML field inside your form, and for example, this renders the feedback for the employee throughout the appraisal. You can also customize other views like trees. Rohit embedded the tree view inside BOM creator. So you can reuse a lot of components from the framework inside your forms as well. So I just want to leave this at that you can build apps, but there are 3 levels at which you can do this. One is for function, like just get the work done, whatever is asked for. Second is simplicity, like go one step ahead and make things simple for the user, not just for the sake of having the data in the system. And third is excellence, where you actually go and work and identify UX issues and work on them. Yeah, that's all from my side.
Questions?
Yeah, so from a UX point of view, when you create a checkbox, it doesn't align with your control. Is there any option that it can do a horizontal align? So imagine you have 2 columns. On the left hand side you have be it a text box or a select or date control, whatever it is. And on the right hand side you have a checkbox. And below that you have all the text box and the other controls. So it doesn't horizontally align. It doesn't look nice. So is there any option that we can align that checkbox?
So checkboxes we usually prefer on the left hand side. If it's something like a disabling checkbox, it should be on the top, like an item being disabled in a separate section.
Not necessary, because as you said that all the relevant fields should be within the proximity. So it won't look nice that you have all the checkboxes either at the top or at the bottom.
Yeah, so it's context driven, like
Pointing.
yeah, we can look into it.
Okay, then the second question is that I do not find an option that if I want to traverse the field using the tab, so it always goes vertically down in a section and then it goes on the right side. Is there any option that we can tab like horizontally? Are there any option?
Currently, I think it goes, yeah.
Then
like tab as in the keyboard tabbing? Or?
Yeah, so imagine a user is entering the data. So within a section it goes from first, second, third, fourth, like this. If someone wants to traverse like this.
Yeah, understood. Yeah, that's probably a bug.
And then I do not find in a designer any option to merge the columns. Imagine you have put a remarks field at the bottom. So if I want to put a remarks in a same section, but I want to merge the two columns. So I have two column section, and then under that I want to put a remarks, which should, span the two columns. So I do not find any option there.
There was a option of section with hide border. I think before the redesign, maybe we should look into that and like bring it back if it's not.
Yeah, that's still there.
Yeah.
Sometimes doesn't.
Anyway, thank you.
Any other question?
Rucha, quick one. So, is there a recommendation as when we should be using a tabs versus the the different sections? Is there any recommendation from your side?
So if your form is like too long, for example, employee master, it has a lot of fields. So it just increases the scroll for the user. Whereas tab, you see it at a glance, what are the sections. So if I want to work on something with exit formalities, I just click on the tab. It reduces the time I need to have to reach to that field. So long forms usually I think tabs are better. Sections inside the tab also work.
So extra details can go into a separate tab, and you can use section for grouping. If a group of fields are similar, are of same entity, you can group them in a section. And if you have a detail in a form which is not very useful, it can be in a separate tab.
I have a question regarding the tables. Normally we have a limitation that we can show only 10 columns. So is there any way like we can increase, or because sometimes we have to show more columns so that the user will have more data presented at once.
No, so columns, it depends on how much you can overload the user with. So adjusting width columns is one, but you can also try the custom UI, write HTML. Like the data will stay in the table, but your view can be different for it. So we have done it at some places. I think healthcare, I had done it because it was to show some exercise, physiotherapy exercises for the patient, which doesn't really sit in the table because those are like image views of steps. So you can experiment with the UI and you will find a lot of examples within the...
Sure, I'll try that. And one more, it is a more kind of general question. Like every time when we are hosting the site on Frappe Cloud, so we don't have the code access, so we have to go for server script or client script. But there are some limitations, like we cannot use some of the functions or maybe libraries. So in future you are trying to or planning to expand that thing so that we don't have to go into the code level or from backend, so that we will have the code written either in server script or client script.
So that's...
This general one,
So
not
client script, you can pretty much import anything. Like you cannot import from node modules, but if you have CDN or something, you can import anything. There is no restriction on client script. But server script we can't, because that is a sandbox, and if that sandbox escape happens, then it's a security problem. So we can't allow more things. But if you want more things, you should just set up a separate custom app. Because when you start reaching, like I need different libraries and import and do something else, it's probably well suited for an app and not server script.
Yeah, one from my side. Yeah. Thank you, Rucha, for the wonderful session. This is more related to the ERP next. Like I've seen that we have created now all tab format, and many of the mandatory fields are in another tab, so it becomes difficult to their user experience is a little challenge.
Yeah, so that we are like working on form cleanups also in ERP Next as part of the retention activities. So we'll go through module by module and like try to eliminate as much as possible.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
By the way, if you observe any, you can raise a
Yeah, you can raise it.
I remember in beginning when we did, there are 2-3 major problems where item table was somewhere else. But now
Yeah.
we don't know any major ones. So if you spotted, then it would be better if you can share that information.
Yeah, thank you.